Strap in, let's go. Time to learn your behavior modification basics. And what's more basic than your ABCs? A for antecedent, B for behavior, and C for consequence. The first thing to consider is going to be the context. Where, when, and why is it happening? When we're talking about behavior, we're talking about the action that takes place. We're not just talking about ideals or opinions. These are things that physically happen. And lastly, when you take action in a given context, are you going to be rewarded or punished? Pete Hegseth was asked whether or not he was going to abide by the ruling of the courts on the decision of whether or not to use military force against protesters. Pete Hegseth refused to answer the question outright. What is the most likely behavior that's going to come out of this context, given whether or not Pete Hegseth et al. Have been rewarded or punished for their behaviors? Well, let's see. The context, I would say, and you are welcome to disagree with me, is that the U.S. government is currently in a Republican administration. Now, I'm not going to say whether or not a Republican administration or a Democratic administration is better. I'm saying that is the context that is leading to the behavior. The behavior, and I believe we can all agree, are unconstitutional civil rights violations. Now, what has been the consequence for the behavior given the antecedent? If you said violations were found and court orders had been given, you'd only be partially right. What they're actually doing is ignoring the ruling and continuing with the behavior. Seeing as how consequences can only be rewards or punishment, is this a reward or is this a punishment? If you're having a little trouble understanding, maybe this will help. I find visual aids helpful. I hope you do too. We're going to make a little chart. One part is going to have punishment and one part is going to have reward. And then we're going to have two categories for punishment and reward. One is going to be positive and one is going to be negative. To keep it basic, we are going to add something that someone doesn't like for a positive punishment, and we are going to add something that someone does like for a positive reward. That's why I used the plus and the minus sign here to make it a little easier to grasp the concept. So, if we're going to add something on the positive side, we're going to take away something on the negative side. So a negative punishment would be to take away something that someone likes. A negative reward would be to take away something that they don't like. And so, by continuing to neglect to have a positive punishment or even a negative punishment, and instead either positively or negatively rewarding this behavior, all it does is ensure it will continue. Now, call me old-fashioned, but I believe it is the civil duty of those who are public servants to not only uphold the Constitution to which they swore an oath, but do everything in their power to make sure that any and all other branches of government, which is the entire, balance of powers thing that we were taught about in school, and that's how it's supposed to work, is, you're supposed to listen and take the punishment and abide. And if you are refusing to abide because the dude abides, why are you not? That just means you are attempting to negate consequences in order to continue the behavior. In other words, you refuse to do the time because you want to keep the money that you got from doing all the crime. How are you supposed to enjoy the fruits of your thievery if you are locked up and can't enjoy it? That would just take away the natural consequence of doing crime, which is why people do crime in the first place. Wait, what do you mean some people are deterred from doing crime by making it so that they can't enjoy the fruits of their criminality? What's going on here? Are you telling me the US government is hypocritical? Democrats are still getting paid. You can't call them hypocrites. They're doing a good job of normalizing this. Oh no. So what is it? My unstable, unsupported self is smarter than the entirety of the government, or they're doing this on purpose because they love Nazis and Nazis loved psychology. Just look up Nazi psychology. Your mind will be blown.